Today we have arrogant religious bullies who quote scripture with one breath and spread cruelty with the next. Hello, my name is Bartholomew, and this is American Zeitgeist. These are tough love extraction videos. Today's topic, MAGA Christian voters, a dangerous betrayal of faith and country. One of the most troubling pillars of the MAGA movement is the radical distortion of Christianity, commonly referred to as Christian nationalism. This isn't just about religion. It's about using the language of faith to manipulate, control, divide, and exclude. Well, let's be clear. Throughout history, religion has often been hijacked to justify war, conquest, and oppression. Our American founders knew this well. That's why the U.S. Constitution never mentions God or king. They had watched for centuries as Europe's monarchs turned faith into a weapon. Catholics and Protestants locked in bloody power struggles, with the occasional pauses in warfare to burn apostate witches at the stake, just to cleanse the bloodlines. Our founding fathers made three equal forms of government with checks and balances on each other, and had a strong belief in the separation of church and state. Thomas Jefferson, the author of the Declaration of Independence, wrote about a wall of separation between church and state. And James Madison, the father of our Constitution, argued mixing government and religion corrupts both. But now, in the shadow of MAGA madness, we are watching this hard-won wisdom unravel. I first saw and felt the depth of this distortion when George Floyd was murdered. At the time, I was leading a men's Bible study over Zoom. These men I've known for decades, and some are still my closest friends. But when we were discussing the killing, the group immediately split in two, as if compassion and justice could not coexist with supporting the law enforcement. Of course, I've supported the police, and I always will. But I also believe the reality is George Floyd was murdered by one police officer while two others watched. I supported the police, and I always will. But I also believe the reality is George Floyd was murdered by one police officer while two others watched. Believe me, our police perform a vital, extremely difficult job in our civil society that it will always require the proper training, leadership, to continually be able to exercise the proper judgment in some of the most stressful situations within our border. As my Bible study experience also demonstrated, the George Floyd murders seemed to be a tipping point for America's community and Christian community. From there, MAGA-aligned Christianity began to openly reject anything, science, critical thinking, basic decency, that didn't conform to their hardened political cult ideology. Truth was no longer a goal. Loyalty was. And faith once again was becoming a public policy weapon. Recently, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, asked about his worldview. His direct response? The Bible. During the pandemic, many MAGA Christians refused vaccines, insisting that God was going to protect them. Today, and some in Trump's own cabinet do not believe in germ theory. With today's remarkable modern medical advancement, not believing in vaccines or germ theory is medieval thinking. And here in Southlake, Texas, where both my kids received excellent public school education many years ago, MAGA Christians began targeting teachers, especially librarians, and they smeared them with false accusations of teaching critical race theory or indoctrinating our kids. It was complete bullshit, but it worked. Candidates, many with flimsy, suspicious resumes backed by Tim Dunn's scorecard and dark money, won several seats and aggressively took control of the Carroll School Board. Now they're purging books that don't align with their interpretation of the Bible, as if science and history and literature stopped evolving 2,000 years ago. Also, in Southlake several years ago, a few of our kids made a video that went viral, chanting the N-word. This was deeply disturbing and troubling for most Southlake parents, but not the politically charged MAGA Christians who had taken control of our school board and city council. A district diversity council and action plan was initially formed, and several Southlake qualified civic-minded parents volunteered to help navigate us through this troubled racist waters, including there was a couple of black families whose father had played football for the Dallas Cowboys. Both the council and the plan were quickly shut down and whitewashed because the MAGA parents said they didn't want their white kids to feel ashamed. And the once warmly welcomed black families were quietly run out of town with the blessings of many of the South Lake's evangelical Christians and the racist political MAGA power brokers. This is horribly disgusting to think that this happened in the community and the country that I've been so proud of in the past. Let's talk about the Bible. I read from the NIV translation. In Matthew 6, Jesus uses the word hypocrite 3 times to describe the self-righteous manipulators of his time. That word still fits today. Today we have arrogant religious bullies who quote scripture with one breath and spread cruelty with the next. As Hakeem Jeffries recently accurately stated about the MAGA members in Congress, they pray and then they pray. They P-R-A-Y and then they P-R-E-Y. Years ago, I had the privilege of traveling to the Holy Land with a Catholic-sponsored trip. I often remark it was 19 Catholics and 1, me, Presbyterian, which I thought was a fair fight. I'm joking, of course. It was a trip of a lifetime, and the Bible came alive for me during that experience, and I will forever be grateful for that opportunity. As we sat on the hillside, believed to be the place where Jesus delivered the Beatitudes, we read out loud Matthew 5. It's a message of humility, kindness, and compassion. Nowhere in that sermon does Jesus call for the conquest of nations or hoarding wealth, power, and control. From my reading of scriptures, it's only Satan that makes those material promises. It seems to me that Christ is more concerned with what's in our head, our faith, how we think, and how we treat each other. Our zeitgeist? But the MAGA Christianity has flipped the script. It's no longer about spiritual growth. It's about political domination, capturing the 7 mountains of culture. It promises prosperity, power, vengeance, and victory. And in doing so, it replaces Jesus with a golden calf named Trump. Many of the big box mega churches in North Texas are among the worst offenders. Look at Robert Morris right here in my backyard. A Trump spiritual advisor, later disgraced by allegations involving a 14-year-old girl, or another pastor in the Dallas-Fort Worth area caught literally laying hands on a wooden board with Jesus written on it, turning faith into political theater. And still, these so-called MAGA Christians worship Donald Trump as if he was their Messiah. He's not. He's a deeply flawed man whose only religion is himself. Trump's cynical promise in 2016, packing the courts with federal society-sponsored conservative judges, may have secured the election for him, but the damage that's done to both faith and democracy is immeasurable. MAGA Christianity isn't about Christ. It's about authoritarian control. It's not a moral compass. It's a loyalty test to a man, not to God. I often see signs that say, let's keep Christ in Christmas. I want to make a sign that says to my MAGA friends, let's keep Jesus Christ in Christianity. It's time real Christians need to stand up and demonstrate a moral compass. We need to reclaim our faith from the grifters and the hypocrites and the cults of MAGA. Maybe I'm a simpleton, but when I read the Bible, I passionately come to a couple conclusions. Jesus is a good guy, and he wants us to take care of each other. Perhaps this is spiritually inappropriate, but when I'm in our Bible study, I often feel many of my close friends are trying to prove or improve their relationship with God, so it enhances their chances of getting into heaven. Mentally, I'm kind of on the other end of that thought process. I feel like I have a pretty good relationship with God, although when I pray, I often hear from the Old Testament God who can be kind of gruff. But hey, the reality is I probably need a swift kick in the butt every now and then. When I read scriptures, I'm mainly trying to gain insights on how I can improve my relationships with other humans. Many mornings I get up and get on my knees and recite the Lord's Prayer while focusing on a flame of a candle. When I contemplate the second line, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, I wonder, is Jesus offering us a path to heaven in the afterlife? Or is he offering us a spiritual path of growth on how to act on earth to enjoy the benefits of living a heavenly life? I don't know. But the remainder of the Lord's Prayer sure seems to me to be mental instructions or zeitgeist on how to act in a heavenly manner toward each other while we enjoy our short, precious life on earth. Okay, spiritually I may be an odd duck, but I feel one of the most comforting blessings in my Christian faith is that I believe the God I pray to loves the diversity of all his children, much like most parents recognize the diversity of their own children, but they will always love them all. And here's another odd observation. All the major religions of humanity have some form of the golden rule in their scriptures. Treat others as you would like to be treated. My bottom line, I believe if humanity could embrace this simple spiritual guidance of diversity, then my two granddaughters will have a better chance of an enjoyable, safer, and more prosperous life during their precious lives on earth. Thank you for watching America's Zeitgeist. The next video, MAGA capitalists. For now, safe landings, everyone.